Hi, and thanks for clicking on today's video. Today, I'll be taking you along with me as I deep clean and decorate my porch and entry area, bringing in bright colors and unique pieces to refresh the space, but also bring in a little bit of summer magic. I also have a delicious and hydrating popsicle recipe that I'll be sharing at the end, so make sure to stay tuned. So in case you're new here today, I want to take a second to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Jackie, and this is my magical home, where I like to share all kinds of creative homemaking ideas with you. In today's video, we're going to be doing some seasonal decorating outside, as well as sharing a delicious recipe, but I've also got other home styling ideas, really unique DIY ideas, as well as some delicious recipes, movie night and themed party ideas, and so much more here. So if you haven't already, I hope you'll hit that button down below and join my YouTube family. But let's go ahead and get back to the fun. As you can see, I'm starting out by pulling some weeds that have just collected around this tree. And frankly, I really should be doing this with my gardening tools as they can get the roots out better, but the ground here is just rock solid and I just don't have that kind of strength. So I'm just doing the best that I can. I'm sure that this is a job that will need a little bit more attention on another day. I am so grateful to have the opportunity to not only decorate and refresh my porch and entry area, but also to get to share it with you. I think that the area is such an important space in your home because it's the thing that greets you as you arrive, as well as welcomes your guests when they come to your home. And I feel like if it's cluttered and overwhelming, that's going to be the experience that you are feeling when you walk in the door, as well as your guests when they're coming to visit. So having that in a beautiful, magical space is absolutely essential. All I can say is wow, that pond is not supposed to look green like that. Let's see if we can give it a little bit of love. The first thing that I needed to do was get all of this nasty water out of here. And it took quite a bit of time to get it all out, I won't lie. My husband helped me with a little bit of it, but I managed to scoop out most using my pink cleaning bucket. And I tried to put the stuff that came out of it onto the different plants because they really like it, even if I think it looks gross. After that, I came through with a hose and just kind of tried to spray off as much of the algae that had grown in as I could. It really wasn't that effective, but I did end up coming back with a scrub brush and just kind of scrubbing and then spraying it off, scrubbing, spraying it off until I had a much cleaner pond. I have to admit that cleaning this pond out was a much more difficult job than I had originally expected, and frankly, I had left it way too long. It should have been cleaned earlier so that it hadn't gotten this bad, but it is what it is. It did take me like a couple hours to actually get it completely clean, so I'm only going to show you some of that process because it just, I didn't want to leave my phone going that entire time as I recorded. I needed to just be able to get in there and not worry about angles or anything like that. So I did finish up the pond and it is filling back up with water, and I will make sure to show you how that turned out. But it is time for me to attack this walkway. As you can probably see, the dirt and like little mulch kind of things have just taken over the pathway. It's actually got 3 stones here, but the myrtle has actually grown up over it. And it's actually as if Mother Earth is reaching her hand out and taking back over because the mud itself even covered these stones. Like I had to come back in with a tool and break it off so that I could just get a little bit more of this entryway opened up. But I do feel like it looked really nice. Everything was kind of a dusty mess afterwards, though. It was pretty bad. So I want to know, what projects are you working on in your garden this year? Obviously, we've been working on this front porch entry area that I'm showing you right now, and we've also been working on our potager victory garden, trying to bring it to life, filling it with all kinds of delicious goodies. And I still need to get working on my patio. It feels like there's so many projects that it's hard to keep up with. But as I said before, I really want to know, what are you guys working on right now? Let me know in the comments down below. Once I'd finished with the walkway, I headed over to the pond to do some weeding. But I realized really quickly that it was way over my head and that the crabgrass had virtually taken over. So I decided to come back to it another day when I was better prepared. And at this point, I was covered in pond water and mud and dust from getting the walkway, and so I decided to take a quick shower before I came back that evening to add some floral fun to the porch. Let's start out by changing out this pot. I think that one just gives a little bit better look, and then I needed to come through and take out all of my old dead plants that I had had in here from last year. I also like to break up the soil and kind of carve out a little space of where I want my plants to go so I can get a good idea of how much spaces I actually need to dig into. I don't know if anybody else does this. I saw this on Pinterest multiple years ago, and I really do find that it helps me in trying to get the right depth for my plants. So I decided to add some lobelia around this pink flower that I added here, and you're gonna see that it looks pretty haggard. Like, it had a long day and it was really hot, but don't worry, it came back with gusto the next day, and I think that it just really added a great pop of color to this plant. As you can see, it is starting to get a little bit darker, so I am just rushed to try and get all of these plants in before it gets too dark to record anything. I really feel like having these plants in the entryway just makes such a welcoming presence. And if you'll notice, like this Mexican heather here looks like it got a little bit damaged. That is because I got it on clearance for $4 at my local Lowe's because they had had a cold snap. That is such a great way to get plants. I don't know if you do that, but we got so many beautiful things this year because of it. And look at my beautiful little assistant helping me out from the porch. That is my Emma, and she is a very sweet girl. Welcome to day 2 of this adventure. I headed off to my local nursery because I needed to pick up a couple more plants, which I always think is such a fun way to start the day, don't you? I had so much fun at the nursery, but it's time to get to work and get this area cleaned up so we can bring out the decor. At this point, I have finally finished with the cleaning, and it is time to start bringing in the decor. And you guys, I am so excited for you to see how everything turned out, so make sure to stay tuned. Aren't these pillows so cute? I feel like they add the perfect touch of whimsy to my bench, and I'm really excited that I found them at TJ Maxx. I'm also adding a solar lantern that I DIY'd a little bit, but I will talk to you about that in just a little bit. I just want to show you how nice this area turned out. It is such a peaceful place to come and sit and listen to the birds sing in the morning, and I absolutely love it. Now, it's time to go for the pond, but as you can see, my cute little kitty Isis was feeling a little afraid of the camera, so she ran away. Now, I picked up this solar fountain on Amazon, and you basically just dunk it into the water, and after that, it just continues to give a nice light fountain. I think if I had a little bit more sunlight in this area, it would be a stronger fountain, but I'm still really happy with it. Now, in addition to that, I decided to add these faux lilies to the area to just kind of keep my fountain from going all the way over to the edge all the time. And I actually think that they turned out really cute. Funnily enough, the local raccoon that visits me did not love them though. They pulled a couple of them out and tore them up into pieces, which I thought was really funny. Now I'm going to be adding a little bit of solar lighting to this entry area just to kind of give an idea for people where to walk. It's very subtle coloring. I picked these up at my local Ross. I'm also going to be adding a couple unfinished Dollar Tree solar lanterns here. I would like to come back and add the copper tones to them later, but I ran out of time, frankly. Now, look at this beautiful trellis I picked up at Ross years ago. I didn't know what to do with it, but now I do. I'm going to be adding it to this faux barrel, and I'm going to add it right by the front door. So it's just a beautiful pop of color and flowers and fun right when you're coming up and knocking. Now I'm going to be adding a really pretty clematis to the center of this, and I'm hoping that it comes back year after year. I'm also going to be adding some snapdragons to the side to bring in a little height and make it stand out. And then I'm going to be adding some, I think they're called primrose. Yes, primrose. And I don't know what the middle plant is called, but it looks like little baby petunias and it's super cute. When it comes to picking the plants for your planters, it's really important to keep in mind the vibe that you're hoping to set, as well as the color tones that you're looking for. I want something bright and whimsical and filled with contrasting colors so that it stands out. But let's say, for instance, if you wanted more of a moonlit garden, you might consider doing all white so that it stands out in the moonlight. So I wanted to have some really unique pieces to bring this area to life. So let's go ahead and start with a couple DIYs, starting with upcycling a beautiful sign that I picked up off Etsy, just kind of giving it some extra special touches so that everything blends in seamlessly. I had this piece custom made for my home off of Etsy, and I couldn't be more pleased with it. But its sleek black look didn't really fit in with that whimsical magic cottage vibe that I'm going for this summer. And so, well, and let's be honest, in general in my life. So I brought in some Spanish copper rub and buff to just kind of age it a little bit. Let's take a second to talk about my second DIY, which very much like my other DIYs I'm sharing with you guys today is incredibly simple. But I needed a new hook for my front door so that I could put up a beautiful wreath I picked up at Michael's. But here's the thing, I really didn't want the kind that go up over the door. I feel like it messes with the paint, as well as sometimes it messes with the way the door closes. And I didn't want one of the simplistic ones that I could just paste on the front to use either. So I had to get a little creative. I headed over to my local Lowe's where I found this beautiful dragonfly hook. Now, it wasn't actually meant for this. It was meant to go on the wall, but with a little ingenuity and some Velcro sticks, it worked out perfectly. So let's go ahead and I'll show you what I did with that. So here's the original piece. Isn't it so cute? We are going to start out by just adding a layer of black spray paint. Once it was all dry, I came inside and just lightly went over it with a little bit of that same copper rub and buff to just make the accents kind of stand out, but still leave those dark black lines in the background. I think it turned out so cute. I can't wait to hear what you think. And exactly like I did with the other projects, I did bring in a couple of the lanterns that were going onto the porch and bring in those same copper tones to age them as well. I feel like I want my home to look like you stumbled upon Snow White's cottage in the middle of the forest. And I feel like having these aged accents really helps to bring that look together. And it's time to head back outside so that we can add these accents. So I'm starting with that sign I picked up on Etsy, and yes, I'm using a funny hammer right now. I could not find my normal one, and so, I had to use what I had available. And I feel like these things really help to bring this space together. I loved the fact that they're not something that you're going to see on everybody's doorstep. They're something that are kind of unique to me, and I think that makes it really special. And it's time to bring in my hook. Now I used a chalk marker so that I could mark exactly where I wanted it so that I didn't come back and accidentally put it all cattywampus. And I did use the industrial black Velcro strips this time instead of the standard ones, and it worked so much better, you guys. I was really happy with how well this stayed, and it didn't even seem to flinch at the weight of my wreath. Now, speaking of which, look at how amazing this wreath looks. Isn't it so cute? I picked it up on Michael's, and I just feel like it is such a bright and vibrant piece that I feel like it really brings everything together. I also brought in one of those refinished lanterns just to kind of accent this area as well. Okay, let's take one more look at what this looked like when I first started. As you can see, everything was still dead from the year before, and it really needed some help, guys. Remember that disgusting pond? Oh, I have nightmares about it. It was so bad. And even the porch really needed some love. It didn't stand out. It didn't give welcoming vibes. But look at it now. I am so absolutely thrilled. Even just taking out all of those dead plants really made everything else look so vibrant and green. And the nice little sitting area being all cleaned up and ready. And of course, the accents that I added right to the front door bring me so much joy. But it's about time for us to head inside because I have a really yummy, healthy popsicle recipe that is going to keep you hydrated this summer and is family approved. So stay tuned. Staying hydrated in the summer is crucial, particularly in areas like I live in Arizona, where it can get so hot. So I'm going to be sharing a delicious recipe for homemade popsicles with you guys that is not only immensely hydrating, it tastes utterly scrumptious. So let's talk about the ingredients that we need to make these popsicles, and you only need 3 things. You're going to need 2 cups of coconut water, 10 ounces of strawberries. I use thawed frozen strawberries, but you can also use fresh, as well as half a cup of honey. Once you've gathered your ingredients, you simply need to put them into the blender. Now, once this was ready, I did transfer it into the smaller pitcher. That way it was easier for me to pour. These are the popsicle bags that I'm going to be using. They each carry about half a cup of fluid, and I will have them linked down below. This mixture made me about 8 popsicles, in case you're curious. Now it is time to put these into the freezer for a little bit, and then voila! I give you my strawberry breeze popsicles. All right, so my popsicles are done. These are so good, you guys. My family absolutely loved them. And I love that while I'm still getting to have something sweet and delicious, I know that I'm also giving my body some good hydration and nutrients, as well as using healthy ingredients. So now if you're curious, this is about half a cup of that strawberry and coconut water mixture. And I really think that you guys are going to absolutely love this. So when you try it out, make sure to tag me on Instagram so I can hear exactly what you think. Now, I did think that this was going to be the end of today's video, but then I was walking through Ross and I came across the most beautiful little bell with these birds on it, and obviously I needed to add it to the area as well. It was so unique and fun, and I just loved the way the bell sounded. So let's go ahead and add some copper accenting to that bell really quick and head outside and put it up. Now this is exactly like I did with my other projects, but I'm only accenting the birds and the leaves and things of that nature so that they stand out amongst the feature. I think this turned out really cute, and I'm so glad that I ran across it before I completely finished my project. Thank you so much for joining me here on the porch today. I hope that it brought you a little inspiration to refresh your own space and enjoy the simple beauty of summer. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you here as part of my cozy little community and family, and I hope that you have an absolutely magical day, my friends. Until next time.